Me?
Excellent. Well, let's get this show on the road, as it were. Today's webinar is sponsored by the Casablanca Expert. The topic, our title today, Introduction to the New Casablanca Video Editors. And this is a collaboration, a cooperation between myself, the Casablanca Expert, and the business I have here, providing expert training and instruction, and the good folks at Draco Systems Australia. Thank you. And I see that Mr. Marsh is on the line today, and it's great to have you along. Greg, actually, we talked about this a few weeks back, and thanks, Greg, for inviting me, as it were, to your neck of the woods to share with your customers and the folks in, I want to say this right, Australasian, or is it Australiasian? Either way, it's an American who that's as good as he's going to do, I think. So stand by for a moment here. I'm getting a notification on my panel that something needs to be adjusted.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Excellent. The system gets a bit finicky at times. So if you find that you have lost audio or there's a couple things that may happen during a webinar, because at once it's amazing technology to me that I can get online and share ideas and thoughts in a presentation with people within my own home state of California in the USA, let alone people, I was going to say halfway around the world, really on the other side of the planet. So it is fascinating and it is amazing. And even though if it was a domestic webinar here just within North America, the reception can depend on the internet service provider. So at times you may lose me on your microphone. If I don't come back in just a moment, go ahead and type something in the control panel to indicate that, hey, Chet, we've lost your audio. And if I have a number of people do that, I know the problem's on my end. But I've been doing webinars almost 3 years now, and
just to share some information. Your host is the venerable, the honorable, the attractive, the intelligent, and the modest Chet Davis. That would be me. So let's go ahead and let me fire up the webcam so you can actually see that I am truly here. And here we are at I'm in San Rafael, California, which is the county just north of the Golden Gate Bridge, about 30 minutes from the Pacific Ocean here in California, the other side of the Pacific Ocean from some of you joining us down there. So again, it's delightful to have you along, and I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to share this content with you this evening. So and as I mentioned, there will be definite time for Q&A at the end of the session. I'm here for you. I totally have plenty of content to last us into the wee hours of tonight, but knowing that we'll be together just around an hour, plenty of content to cover, but really this is about you and your needs. Today's focus is an introduction to the new Casablanca video editors. There is somewhat of an assumption that you're already somewhat familiar with the original series of the Casablanca. In fact, I've got a poll here. I want to first let me ask this. Let me ask you if you can share with me. Just click on the box and go ahead and click more than one if you are so inclined. Give me a sense of where does your work fall into this genre? Do you do mostly wedding and events with your video work, corporate industrial, church and ministry? Are you involved in education? Would you consider yourself more of a hobbyist, an amateur, creating travel videography and the like? So just give us a sense by clicking in the box, one or more of them, to let me know and let your colleagues know kind of the audience who's on hand tonight and the kind of video work that you do. The Situation Room shows about 92% of the folks have voted. That's pretty good. We usually have one or two people who are playing online poker or something and too distracted to actually answer the, oh, my goodness, 100% vote. Let's close the poll and share the results. So the greatest percentage of folks online today would classify themselves as hobbyist videographers, serious amateurs, creating travel videography and the like, followed by wedding and event videography and corporate and industrial with a smattering of education as well. Excellent. Let me ask you two other questions if you don't mind, because I think it's pertinent here. No, I'll ask that in a moment. So with an understanding, it's been an interesting evolution, where on the top of this screen we see the Casablanca Classic, affectionately known, at least in North America, as the Cassie. Raise your hand if you had or still have a Cassie Classic in your possession. Just curious to see. It's always fun to see. And there's at least one person. Good. I should raise my hand as well, because up, 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Yeah, the Cassie Classic was really ahead of its time as a standalone digital video editor. Works right out of the box, and the claim to fame really was that, and it did. And I remember I worked with the company who distributed the Casablanca systems in North America for a little more than 10 years. And it was interesting and intriguing to me at some of the trade shows and events, especially in the early years, when people were used to seeing high-end video editing systems that would take up half of a block. They were enthralled, and they almost thought it was a smoke and mirrors thing. So very intriguing. And then that's what we call the Cassie Classic, or the original. The second one down, the middle image you see here, is actually a face, I believe, of the Casablanca Prestige, and that tonight represents what we call the Generation 2 machines, the Gen 2 machines, which started with the Casablanca Avio, followed by the Cron, the Prestige, the Solitaire, and then there were Plus models in a number of the series, the Renommée and Renommée Plus. There was the Gymnos and the Claro, and in North America we had a laptop portable called the Liberty. It was based on the Toshiba M400 Protege. So, and then oh goodness, I want to say about 3 years ago. Someone correct me if I'm mistaken. But around 3 years ago, maybe even 4, the company, Macro System AG in Germany, developed new technology to take advantage of, and really based on requirements of movements done by the consumer electronics industry relative to video and video technology. And that's what we see at the bottom of this image, and that's our focus today, is the newer series we call the Bogart series. And Bogart, people often ask, Bogart is clever because of Humphrey Bogart as he relates to Casablanca. And the Bogart is the name of the operating system. So when we say the Bogart OS, we're talking about the operating system. And really what we're also talking about is we're talking about those machines, those editors that are based on the Bogart OS. Quick differentiation between the bottom two. You're going to see that the menus look almost identical. They're very, very similar, and yet they're totally different under the hood. The Generation 2 machines, Prestige, Cron, Solitaire, etc., were machines based on the backbone known as VxWorks. And VxWorks is the backbone operating system. It's a very powerful operating system. In fact, the U.S. space program under NASA used VxWorks to program the Mars rover. So that's how sophisticated it is capable of being. But there was a lack of ability, a lack of flexibility to deal with consumer electronics, and all of the new camera formats that started coming out in the last half of the decade. That's why we moved on, why the company moved on into the Bogart series. Now, here's a look at the current series, almost identical, the Casablanca S3000 and the S6000. Before I go any further, let me just get a sense of where you are now. Just want to see how many people, if any, already have the Bogart machine so I can color my presentation appropriately. Go ahead and click in the appropriate box, if you would, based on the system that you own, system or system. Some people have, they may have a Prestige and a 4000 or a 3000 or 6000 or not, none of the above. They may have a Cassie Classic, or they may not have any of the Casablanca family any longer. So I don't know if it's an evening webinar or if it's the fact that a good percentage of our folks are from the continent down under, but the participation in the voting is extremely delightful. I'll have to do this more often. All right, about 93% of the folks are in. It's your last moment to vote if you really feel like you want to stand up and be counted. But if you don't, that's okay as well. Let's go ahead and share the results and get a sense. So the greatest percentage of folks who are online with us tonight have the Generation 2 machines, especially if you add the top two categories together. Now, this is not the new kind of math we teach here in the state of California and the USA, because if you add up all those percentages, it does not equal 100 because people had the option of clicking more than one. So it is possible that some of our colleagues online, in fact, we have, if you add 15% and 54% together, there's a strong percentage of folks that already are working within the Bogart OS realm. Okay. Sorry, it is mid-afternoon there. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. All right. It's 7 o'clock in the p.m. over here. So, all right. So here's the new machine. This is the back of the S6000. Again, the 3000, 6000, virtually identical from the outside. The significant difference is the processor, is the RAM, and the internal hard drive. The capacity is doubled on the S6000. Why I wanted to show this is we have some different inputs that we didn't have available to us in the other series. Now, we do continue to enjoy analog inputs, so we can bring in what I call legacy footage. The footage that your customers, your clients, your family bring to you of video footage of the family from a decade ago. We can still bring that in because we have S-video in, we have the yellow RCA phono, the composite video in, and we have the stereo RCA phono, the pair, okay? And I need to show you, hide the results chat, thank you. And so down here, again, in the right corner in the bottom image, those are the analog inputs that we continue to enjoy. Now, there is also a FireWire connector on the back. It's a 6-pin FireWire. And on the front, under this little hatch, if I could magically open this up, you would see the standard 4-pin FireWire that many of us are used to seeing. Now, you can use a 6-pin, as you likely know, on if you have a DV camera, mini DV camera still. It just requires a different adapter cable, a 6-pin to 4-pin cable. Okay? It does have an Ethernet port, the RJ45 port, that enables you actually to hook up your Casablanca in a local area network configuration. For example, I have it connected via a router in my Casablanca lab here, and I can actually share files between my Windows computers and my Casablanca in a drag-and-drop configuration. Personally, however, I feel there's a couple more steps to go through to do that, although I've done it successfully. I find it much more easy to drag and drop files onto a USB flash drive, what is also sometimes called a thumb drive, and just exchange that between my Apple computer, my Windows computer, and my Casablanca editor. So I find that working extremely well. A number of USB ports. In fact, if I was able to open up the front hatch, you would actually see 3 USB ports in the front, which I'm going to show you is really one of the key benefits to the current operating system. This is the power connector, and why that's important to note is that the power plug in the S3000 and the S6000 is markedly different from every one of its predecessors, including the S4000, in that the transformer that transforms the higher voltage into the lower voltage in the system is actually outside of the system. That can be a benefit technologically as well, because the heat that's generated from the electrical transformer is outside of the system, so it's less of an issue of that heat interfering with the processor or some of the internal organs, if you will, of the Casablanca. All right. So here's what I would assert are the 4 areas of primary benefit that the Casablanca Bogart series has over the Smart Edit realm, in that there are significant resources for HD, for high-definition video. And any of us, if we walk into a consumer electronics store, and I shouldn't pretend to know exactly what's happening on your continent, but my sense is worldwide we are moving, rapidly towards high-definition acquisition, high-definition editing, and high-definition playback. And although many of us, including myself, still shows a lot of SD material, standard definition. If we're editing that, oftentimes it is in a widescreen configuration in a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. But the new series of Casablancas handle HDV extremely well, handle AVCHD remarkably well also, but they can also handle other computer files that we just really couldn't work with in the earlier generations of Casablanca. MOV files, AVI files, MP4 files, the kind of files that a lot of your colleagues, customers, family members are using in their computer, and the kind that you want to use as well to pull into different video presentations. The number of different formats out there has just mushroomed. Video was in some ways so much easier a decade ago when pretty much every single one of us used a DV camera, mini DV. And I know there are some extremes. You know, we had folks in the Panasonic working with P2 cards and you know, Betacam technology, etc. But on the whole, a huge majority of folks in the professional through the amateur and serious amateur ranks were using DV and mini DV camera, transporting your signal over via FireWire. Now that's what we call a stream, a video stream. When you are sending your video signal down a cable, whether it's FireWire or an S-video cable, that's a stream of video, and it goes in real time, as we know. So 1 hour of footage takes 1 hour to play back and record into our editor. Today's contemporary camcorders and the latest look at the marketplace shows just one videotape-based camera, just one that delivers a stream of video. All the rest of them are what I call file-based cameras. So they're saving their video scenes as a file, a computer file, usually on a flash drive. And that flash drive transfers the file via drag and drop technology. That's what is one of the primary benefits in the Bogart editor. I'm going to show you a couple different versions of that this afternoon. We also have, again, camera format compatibility. So we can work with AVCHD cameras in the same storyboard. We can have HDV alongside DV and AVCHD and an MOV file thrown in that we downloaded off of YouTube, for example. So lots of different options. There's enhanced workflow, and I want to show you some of those tools this afternoon that I think just save me a ton of time, and why I think that's of significant benefit. And I was having this conversation with Macrosystem CEO Jörg Sprav at the National Association of Broadcasters show about 4 years ago. He said, one of the primary benefits, Chet, we can bring to customers is to maximize the amount of time they spend in front of the interface. And I think that is so true. To what degree the company can provide us tools so that we can edit more quickly, and theoretically so we have more time for our family and ourselves, but for some of us that means just more time for more editing projects, okay? And then there's the world and wealth of export options, okay? We have a whole realm of being able to export finished videos in today's Casablanca and the Bogart OS and upload them to YouTube or to Vimeo or to Facebook or our video hosting website, our own web. So many wonderful options, okay? So questions, comments, answers before we jump in. And I should qualify, if it's not already clear, I know Mr. March did send out an email and kind of gave a quick history there. I do not represent Macrosystem, either the German company or the U.S. company. Officially, I am not an employee. I'm an independent business person. I run Casablanca Expert. I have a website, casablancaexpert.com. That is a membership website, but I have free resources also. And my business is solely providing expert training and instruction. Someone would say, Chet, why are you here tonight? For two reasons. One, in a conversation with Greg, I was delighted to reach out to some new colleagues of some new faces, some new names in your region, and I'm sharing with you almost in your footsteps as an end user. Okay, I'm happy to point out the things that I think are areas that the company needs to work on, and I'm also happy to point out the things that I think the company has done fabulously well on in terms of the development of the new machines. Okay, now it is my faraway hope that perhaps one or two of you who are not yet a member might see the value in the resources I offer at CasablancaExpert.com and join me by virtue of a membership. We have several in New Zealand and Australia who are members, or to consider purchasing my tutorial DVDs. So somewhere in the back of my mind, I should tell you this as well, Greg and Barry, I'm thinking that I am hoping and planning. Perhaps we can arrange for a hands-on workshop in Australia, New Zealand, maybe a year from now in December of 2012. So I'd be delighted to come down there. Okay, we already have a question, a good question. What about loading 4x3 footage into an S6000? Does it show as 16:9 or 4x3? Does it distort the picture? Excellent question. Let me show you that rather than just tell you that, okay? So let me fire up, the webcam is, hold on, let's check a second here. Let me check this out and make sure the webcam is in proper position. And I think we're almost there. Just have to adjust it. I know you're not seeing it. That's on purpose. See, I'm just trying to pay no attention to the man behind the scene here, behind the curtains. Okay, getting the webcam adjusted properly. Okay, and there we go. So you are now looking at my, this is a Casablanca S3000 running the latest version available, I think, in both PAL and NTSC. That's Bogart version 4.1G, as in good. And if you're coming from the Casablanca earlier generations, you'll notice the interface is largely the same. As an educator, we call that a transferable skill, that once you learn any particular interface in the Casablanca, it's easy to take that knowledge, the skill you already have, and to employ it over here in the brand new system, okay? So Peter, I'm going to answer that, but in a roundabout way, okay? So I am going to come back to that. Let me just walk us through very quickly the differences between the previous system. The storyboard timeline, you have the ability to set up your Casablanca in the traditional storyboard configuration that you've seen for some period of time, where you have your storyboard on the top, and down below you have your scene bin with the raw footage, your base clips. Now, if you're on an Avio, for example, or a Prestige, you may have never seen this setup, but you have the ability to totally customize that however you like. So I can set it up down here to the one-line scene bin, and it will behave the way my system always did back in the olden days, if you want to call it that, okay? So it is very easy to do that, or to come in there and customize it so you can see what we call a timeline interface, okay? Now, the timeline interface, let me come back here. The timeline interface, oh, I'm at the wrong resolution here. That's the other benefit of the system, is we can switch to a different screen setting. I pointed out the back, there are different configurations. It does have the built-in HDMI connector, so we can go up to a higher resolution. I can go up to 1920 by 1080p, which is pretty much the highest resolution you're going to find on most of the HD TVs. And there we go. So now the clips are a little bit tinier. The resolution is infinitely more clear. And I understand it's hard to kind of understand that when you're looking at it through the webcam. But we have the full ability here to say, I want this to look at me in timeline view, okay? So totally customized. So we have the ability now in the timeline view to see the video track, to see video inserts separately, to see title effects and image processing effects, and on the very bottom to see transition effects. So the nice thing about it, although this is there for those who want it, I love the fact, I think it's very wise that the developers gave us the opportunity to say, you know, I learned it the old way, I'm more comfortable with the old way, give me the old way of what we call the storyboard approach. Okay, so this is the highest resolution, 1920 by 1080. I, however, recommend as a rule that if you're editing in HDMI or DVI to HDMI adapter, that you would go ahead and stay at the 720 resolution. The 1280 by 720, I believe, gives a little bit better performance. The resolution is not as crisp and clean, but I think it's more responsive, and the buttons in terms of screen real estate just have a better feel. But that's a personal feeling, okay? So Looks largely the same. What I'm going to do is let me come over here into a new project and give you a sense of what we've got going on. Go ahead and set up, here we have project number 25, for example, a brand new project, and let's call this our sample project. And in this sample project, we determine what the format is. Now, there's the SD, standard definition, which is 720 by 40, and it's been that way in our Casablanca for a long time. What's newer in the Bogart 4 series is we have these 3 different high-definition aspect ratios, screen resolutions, I should say. And the important thing when you're importing footage, ideally, you should have the footage match the project setting, or the project setting match the footage. So if you've shot material that's 1280 by 720, for example, if you're using those little flip cameras, the Kodak Playful camera, the Sony Bloggy, you're talking 1280 by 720. If you're importing HDV, then you want to do 1440 by 1080. If you're importing AVC HD, so you can see you have 3 different screen resolutions, okay? Now, amongst these 3 different screen resolutions, if I go to, let's go to SD, for example, okay, the 3 different screen resolutions, the other nice thing is, as Peter was asking a moment ago, what about 4:3? You can set up one of your projects, or all of your projects, to be the 4:3 aspect ratio. So if you have, again, what I call legacy footage, older video material, then you can be editing projects in the 4:3 aspect ratio. Okay. Now, what's important to note is, of course, that affects the everything you're adding in the Casablanca is modified by virtue of the 4:3 or the 16:9. Okay. And down here, this is important as well, as more and more cameras have the ability to record or shoot in a progressive format. The editor has the option to edit in a progressive format. So it's kind of different languaging here, but the interlace is either on or off. If you have a video camera, a DV camera that you've been working with for 10 or 15 years, you'd have the interlace set to on. Many of the contemporary cameras have the ability to shoot progressively. So for example, 720p, the P stands for progressive. So 1 full frame at a time instead of 2 fields that make up that single frame. And this does not change the footage at all. The only thing this changes is what we're adding in the Casablanca. The transition effects, the title effects, the image processing effects, they will be added progressively or interlaced. That depends on you. Okay? Now, a hint for those of you who are editing in a progressive project, if you intend to employ the Twixtor, Twixtor, the Twixtor motion manipulation software that's an add-on for the Bogart, that is fabulous, by the way. If you're planning to employ that, that will not work in a progressive project. It will only work in an interlace project. I should say that will not work when the progressive switch is on. Okay? What I discovered when I was working with one of my website members who needed to complete a project that was progressive but needed some Twixtor, I worked with them to come out, and in the middle of the project, when they needed Twixtor, they switched us back to interlace. They went in and did their Twixtor work. They used the movie mode to de-interlace that footage. They came back and reset this, and they continued editing their project. So there is a way to do it. It's just not kind of traditional. So long answer to your short question, Peter, is that when you import 4:3 footage, it will show up as 4:3 as long as you have your format here set to 4:3. It won't distort the picture. However, if you're importing 4:3 into 16:9 or 16:9 into 4:3, and you don't have the ability to modify that in your camera in the download, it will come out with likely the distorted view as it stretches or squeezes to make that footage fit the aspect ratio that you've selected. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and go up to 1920 by 1080. I'm going to set this on interlace because that's the project footage that I've got here in our sample video bin. Now, before I get to these two, which is at the very, very end, we'll just touch on those briefly at the end of our time together today. Let's jump over to I should show you the video menu. Now, look at that. You can click again and again and again. It's not going to show you the video menu because when you're in an HD project setting, you cannot access the video controls. You can only access the video when you are set up inside of an SD project, because you can't pull apart or modify the footage that's coming in. You cannot adjust the brightness, contrast, or saturation of an HDD signal as it's coming in. Okay, and we have the same configuration we've had before. You know, I'm disappointed in the nomenclature that the translation improved here, but because it's RCA, it works. But SVHS is a TIG format. It should say S-video or it should say YC input, but then I'm not going to argue that point with the developer. Now, when you go to the recording system, you have two buttons. We've always had this button here where you roll your tape, you know, your deck, or you roll your camera, and you click record, and it will record the video footage. But this is brand new. It's fantastic. Okay, let me come over to our sample project and give that a whirl and show you. This is what I think is one of the dynamite improvements in the contemporary Casablanca running the Bogart 4. That's the ability to import those streams that I told you. Not the streams, but the files. So I'm going to connect my USB flash drive. So I have this is my little USB thumb drive, you know, the little USB jump drive. I'm connecting that to the front of my Casablanca. And while we're at it, I'll go ahead and connect this. I recently purchased this little point and shoot that just does wonderful stills, a variety of them, and also does AVC HD work. It's a little Sony DSC HX9V. Okay, the lighting's a little more than a little bit dim. I'm sorry, but you know, you get the, you know, it's a, and it has a USB cable on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to connect this USB into my Casablanca S3000 as well, so I can show you how easy it is to import these files and how that works very smoothly, I believe. Now, when this window pops up, and by the way, you can also bring in these files on disk. Okay, so if a colleague burned their video files from their vacation and provided you them on disk, on DVD, you can import them the same way we're doing here. It's just a matter of changing the selector. Okay. Now I've got multiple sources plugged in. Okay. There's the Sony camera, and I click down here and say display the contents, please. And I can hear very quietly the machine's clicking away. It's loading up the files. Okay. And we're waiting for it to show the good number of video files that I have within the system here. Now the odd thing as well, this Sony camera gives me 3 different file folders. Let's come down here first. Let's go to my Kingston Data Traveler. That's the little portable thumb drive you saw me plug in. So there's the USB drive with a whole bunch of different files on it. So this is an AVC HD file, and I can click to add the check mark. And I love this feature too. Anytime you have what I call the elevator shaft here, you have the option of 3 different selection tools. So I'm going to select that file, and I've got a shot of a waterfall on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. And here's a royalty-free motion video clip. Now when I left-click OK, it'll go ahead and begin importing those. So it's importing those video files into the Casablanca editor. So we see the second clip that we have selected. Now, of course, I could have, you know, depending on the length of your footage, the length of each scene, the number of scenes that you have selected, this will take, you know, a longer time or a shorter time, again, totally dependent on the content. It's a little bit faster than 1-to-1. So if I've got, you know, 3 minutes of video, it's going to take me a little bit faster than 3 minutes. Depends on the resolution and whether the system has to do any conversion. Now, speaking of that, take a look in the upper left-hand corner. When it says slow scaling recorded, what that means is the resolution of one or more of the files is different than the resolution in the project settings. So the system is required to convert or modify that so it is compatible with the other video footage you're going to load in at that specific screen resolution. While we're nearly finished with the import process here, let me go ahead and take a pause here, take a quick drink of water, and ask if there are any other further questions as we're moving along. while you're importing, by the way, if you see slow scaling required, that's a good indicator to you. If you're thinking, well, wait a minute, no, I thought I was bringing in the same resolution that I was on the camera, that's a good time to stop, to cancel the import, and then go back and check your camera menu and make sure you in fact are playing back the file that you intended. Okay, so this scene bin was empty a moment ago. Now we have 3 different clips. Now one of the benefits of importing files as well is, see how it's called S waterfall and SS0015 and S cloud, scene cloud. So all 3 of those clips were named in the computer, and that name comes over when you import those files as well. So it's very handy, I believe, very handy. It's a good design. Okay, so that's how easy it is to bring files in from a USB stick. Now this is an MOV file, this is an AVCHD file, and this is let's see, this was an MP4 MOV file as well. So in different wrappers. I think this one was an AVI and this one was an MOV wrapper. So it's nice that you can mix and mingle. Now each of these were in the widescreen aspect ratio. If I was to bring in a clip, let me come down here. I think I do have a clip that's there you go. And you can see already, see the light gray colors here? This is what Peter was asking. This is a 4:3 video clip, okay? So when I import this, it goes full screen here, but it's gonna look pillar boxed inside of my project because it does not have the full 16:9 widescreen. I'm going to cancel that for the purpose of the demonstration and just give you the sense. So here's my Sony camcorder. So we're looking directly at the camera plugged in the system. Now I have to be fair and say that not every video camera is able to be read. If you're using some of the new HD SLRs like the Canon 5D Mark II, the Canon 7D, they will not read directly. You have to take the flash drive, the SD card out of the camera and plug it into a card drive, which is a piece that's in the U.S. somewhere between $20 and $30 US. So I believe it's something that works very smoothly. So let me come over here and select one of these files. In fact, let's see. I think I had identified it was and the more files you click on, okay, you are actually selecting a file. So I click those 2. Let's just bring in one file though, and now you're going to see a file that's brought in directly from a camera. So this is my little AVCHD camera. This footage was shot 1920 by 1080. And here we have one of the famous cable cars in the city of San Francisco across from what's called Union Square. Footage I was shooting just about 2 weeks ago down there. They're getting ready for the Christmas celebration. Okay, now I do have to be fair and say that's washed out. The webcam is not anywhere near as clear as the original footage. So now when we come back over here, we have the there's the finished video. Okay. Now, there's one other really cool thing, and this is new to Bogart 4, even newer than Bogart 3. Down here under the option button, by left-clicking the option button, you have the ability to adjust the brightness, contrast, saturation, the gamma, and even the audio volume prior to importing file-based clips. So if you know it's a batch of video that needs to be adjusted prior to importing or during importing, you don't have to use your time in post in the editing process to adjust it. There's no kind of preview, but there's a way to, it's nice. And then you have the ability as well to select whether you want the directory, okay, or whether you want the files listed individually. And I found that once in a while it doesn't always show in the preview, but if it doesn't at first, you want to click the preview, and there's the full screen, okay, or the display contents, and it will kind of reset the files and will very likely begin to show it over here for you. Okay? Other questions about loading. I'm not going to go through the loading of a videotape from a DV camera because I'm assuming that's something you've already done. You would just, like you've always done on Casablanca, you will, first turn off the camera. The camera or the deck must be turned off. Never connect a FireWire cable while the power is on both devices. Okay? There's potentially serious ramifications, not to bodily harm, but to equipment. You can fry the video board. Okay? It's even possible to fry the components in the camera. People have done it. I'll give you their names. Okay? Turn off one of the two devices before connecting the FireWire cable. Then begin playback in the camera. The scene shows up here. You just left-click the record button. It is nice as well. If I'm recording SD into an HD project, it'll tell me right here that I'm doing that. So I think that's very, very handy. Questions, comments, answers? A couple people with their hand up. And just a reminder, if your hand's up just because you're stretching, that's okay. If your hand is up to ask me a question, go ahead and type it in the question box, if you please, because that's the best way for me to get a sense of what it is and to see if I can address that for you, okay? All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back over to the project settings and go back to the a project where I've already loaded some footage here. This is an HD project, and you can see it's 19 by 1080 resolution. It is an interlaced project, and I've got a number of scenes down in the scene bin, okay? Now, let's see here. Just want to give you an indication, again, of some of the things that are new under the Bogart 4 that I really enjoy in my production time. They've moved the Sabara, or the reverse arabesque, down here, where you have the ability to import video that you may have previously burned out to an arabesque production. This works 100% compatibility with DVDs you created in your Casablanca. If it's a DVD that was created in an Apple or Windows computer, it's possible, it is likely under Bogart 4 that it will load. Sometimes you're going to get video only and not the audio, but it is 100% because it was designed for Casablanca importing. Okay, that's the Sabara, and there's just some other nice features and functions under the pattern. We have a whole realm of things that are different. You have the ability, now there's 3, 10, and 30. We also have the ability to set our own time. Like if I like my video black to always be 6 seconds and 15 frames, I can store that. Now that number is 6:15. So I can totally customize these buttons for me. So you have the ability to custom those. So it's a nice thing, okay? So and the developers also have the ability to create different patterns, okay? So we can take the patterns inside. In fact, I want to show you that next. This is one of the other things that I think is great, is phenomenal in the Bogart 4. A number of us in the community have been petitioning the developers to do this for years, and it's a delight to have that. More and more of us are finding that we have the need, the desire, the requirement to use logos or graphics provided by customers, clients, family, friends, whomever, and incorporate those in our videos. There are workarounds. I have tutorials, and in my workshops, I've shown people how to use Photo Studio 2 and Blue Box World and some of the other software in the Casablanca 2 to add logos. But the developers made it so much easier under the Bogart environment. There's a brand new function under Special. It's called Pattern 2. On Pattern 2, when you click on Select Pattern, it opens up the image pool. Under the image pool, we've got custom images. Now, this is nothing new. We've had custom images for the last several versions, even in Smart Edit. What's new is that I can import not only a JPEG file, a JPEG photographic file, I can now import a PNG file. And if you're into computer graphics at all, or maybe you have a niece, nephew, son, daughter, spouse who's into computer graphics heavily in desktop publishing, a PNG file is the acronym for Portable Network Graphics. And one of the benefits of, in addition to scalable high image quality, it brings along with it the ability to utilize an alpha channel. And an alpha channel is fancy words for transparency. So if you take a look at this logo that I created on a free website, it says Chet Davis Productions, has a fancy little colored logo, and it says Video for You. That is the light blue color, which you may not be able to see on the webcam, is like a checkerboard between light blue and white. That's computer fancy terms for transparent. So everything except this text and these these logos here, that's transparent. And I'm going to put that on top of this video scene. This is how easy it is to do. I left-click OK, and then I position the pattern. See, there's the logo. So I can position it whatever size I want and wherever I want it in the scene. Okay? So now when I click OK, let's go ahead and now you see a full-size representation. There's my logo in the upper right-hand corner. And we can even click this, which is new as well in Bogart 4, just a mini little playback track. And your company logo will remain on top of that, so you can create what's called watermarks or bugs just beautifully. And I don't know if you saw that. This is the really cool part as well. We don't have to go through this long, drawn-out process to import. So I don't have to use Photo Studio 2. I don't have to use Photo Transfer. I don't have to use the archives under the Photo Archives and Media Manager. I can import right from here. Select Pattern, Custom, Import Image. And yeah, I've got something on my Kingston Data Traveler. Let's see, I've got a logo right down here. Okay. There's some logos. There's the logo you saw just a minute ago. So here's the Winter Olympics logo from Vancouver 2010. Okay. So I've just imported that logo into my system. And instead of the Chet Davis Productions, I can use the Vancouver logo, which actually does fit this scene a great deal better than my name, I think, don't you? All right. I absolutely, positively love that. I think that's one of the awesome things in the system, one of the great things the developer gave us. Also to share with you, if you're newer to Bogart, depending on when you came in and how familiar you were with Smart Edit, there's something called the Effect Stack. And the Effect Stack lets you select multiple effects from this effects list and apply them to the scene at once. In fact, you have the ability to select effects, okay? Like I could select the zoom effect, like I wanted to, crop this picture by this %, okay? And then while you're at it, let's go ahead and add the solarize effect. Yuck. But, and then I can archive or save that. And here's what it looks like when you've archived. Here's Chet Special number 1. So when I look at the settings, I have 2 different effects that I have put onto this, this scene. So I don't have to do one, then the other. When I click OK and click OK, it's just going to add that effect right to the system, saving me time. And a less known benefit, it's actually saving the image quality of the scene, because every time I open the effects under the special button one at a time, it has to unpack or open up the compressed video footage to affect it. And when you open up and close it, or uncompress and compress it, uncompress and compress it, uncompress and compress it over a period of time, it will affect the image quality. When you use the effect stack, it uncompresses it once, does all its work, recompresses it, closes it up. So it's a significant benefit in the system. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we have the ability to set up your own favorites. Okay, so you can see that we can specify my favorite effects, my favorite transitions, my favorite image processing effects are all done here under Settings, and I want to say that's under Effects and Rendering. Yeah, there we go. So I can list my favorites, and I can edit them. So in each of these effects windows, and under Title Effects, I can say, yeah, show me the fading vertical scroller, show me the pages, and the through fading pages, and the V-scroll. Now when I go over here to add titles, take a look what's on the tippy top of my menu. There's the 4 that I have customized and set. Isn't that awesome? Really nice. So not something you have to use, but I love the fact that developers are getting to the place where they're giving us useful, efficient, time-saving steps that I can choose to employ or not. And if I don't really like it, I don't have to use it. Okay, I love that. Okay. Go back here, Mr. Davis, real quickly show you the, the function of split and trim. We have 2 modes of split. This is the split we've had forever. And then we have the higher view split, where we can see the current scene. This will be the end of it, and this will be the next frame of the next scene. Okay, so I can see when the cable car actually leaves the scene. So it's still in the scene depending on when I'm using it. Similarly, over in the trim menu, we have the traditional trim between the in and out points, and then we have the fancy trim, where we have the in point on the left, the out point on the right, out +1, and in -1. The top two scenes are the next scene that the audience will not see based on the current information that we have set up here. Okay? But again, we can turn that off if we don't like it that way. Okay? Similarly, we have some very fancy things. If I was going to, let me take a shorter scene, that'll work. If I was going to do an insert, okay, we have the ability of seeing the inserted scene relative to what I call the base scene. In fact, this is one of the coolest things I've seen in a while and the developers have given us. This button here will play back the background, and this shows the inserted scene. So we're seeing right away what the audience is missing, so we can detect, we can tell if that's something, oh, I want to change that edit. It's showing us right away what we're covering up, what we're hiding with the video insert. I'll go ahead and remove that insert. Okay. If you want to grab a still frame from a video project and you want to use that, maybe you want to use it on your web page to promote your latest video, which I do. Maybe you want to extract the video to use it to promote the video. Maybe you want to extract a still scene because you want to use it in a printed program, or you want to put it on a DVD album cover. This is how easy it is to do. Select the scene, come down here, click on the option button. I have the ability here to export a picture to the archives. So I scroll through and say, that's a nice picture of the cable car coming up. I park it right there and left click OK. And within a moment, it's actually harvesting that one still frame and sending it over to the picture archives. Okay. Let me do one more here and show you what that looks like. Let's harvest a picture. Well, no, let me show you how to do it up here in the storyboard. We also have that option under the range function. Okay. And when I scroll through, this person kind of waving their arms and showing off in front of the camera right here. Okay. I want to take a still frame of that. That's what this little tiny icon is here, the picture of a camera. Okay. I just left click on it, and a moment later, it's saved that. Now, how do I know it's there? Well, let me take you over to the Media Manager for about 30 seconds. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It's a whole webinar in itself. In fact, I've got a 2-volume DVD series that goes intensively through the Media Manager. I think Barry's online this afternoon, and any of you have questions about my tutorials, I know Barry has seen a couple of them and can tell you about them. Sorry, Barry, not to put you on the spot there. Click on click on Media Manager, and I'm going to go ahead and open up the photo archives, which is over here in the new Media Manager menu. Now, by the way, this Media Manager is included with every Bogart system. It's there if you use it or you don't. Now, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, take a look. There's the cable car, and next to the last shot there, and now the last shot is the clip of the skater. And if you need to see it larger view, there we go. So this is a JPEG, and it is high def resolution. The resolution is equivalent to the scene. So if this is 1920 by 1080 video resolution, the JPEG will be 1920 by 1080. If it was SD 720 by 480, the JPEG will be the same. More than sufficient to be utilized in most every kind of a print process. Now, if you try to enlarge an SD, it's not going to go very large, but it'll make a nice 4:6 print to be sure. Okay. So that's a quick look at what's in the edit scene. I haven't even gone through we have action, which we've had for some time in the system. Let me do this. Let me, this is absolutely, let me show you very quickly in the transition menu because I want to stay true to our time to commitment here together. And we've had this the last couple of versions. We have the ability to add our scenes automatically. And let's go back and forth between the crossfade and the golly gosh, there was one other one that I wanted to do, and I'm trying to remember now. Oh, we'll just do the strike fade. So see the check marks? The check marks are imperative to use in the new system. Okay, I click OK. So Now you can see there's a variety of different transitions. This is really cool. In the edit menu, we've had this for the last couple versions. By left-clicking on this button here, it will go ahead and render any and all effects. All video effects, transitions, image processing, title effects, the audio that we've added to the system, all that is completely rendered and created for us in the system. Okay. Now, once that rendered and the the orange turns to blue, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the audio menus and show you this real quickly. So I've got a bunch of clips. These are audio samples. We've had this forever almost in the Casablanca system, and I've loaded a royalty-free music track. Music to Hue is a company that I use, and a company that actually you can buy their songs on my website. But what I've got here is a variety of different songs of differing lengths. And it's really cool because we have this new sort function. Down here I can sort by name, which it's going to do because this is alphabetically, chronologically correct. But then I can sort it by length. Okay? So it's showing me the clips from shortest to longest in my audio bin. Really nice. Okay? But I can go back to original, which is the order they were loaded in. And for me, it's going to be the same as by name. So it's nice that you have the ability to do those modifications. There's a number of different options, and the ones that are new to Bogart are the ones that are kind of this golden yellow color in here. You have different presets, different options to affect your audio in different ways. And once you have those done, we go over to Audio Mix. And here's the real kicker. Down here in the bottom left corner, which this can also be done in the system settings, we can tell it to show us this scene as timeline mode. So I do this when I'm just doing like a quality control of my project, and it's nice because if I want to add a track of music here, I left click. Let's find a song we're going to add here. I left click OK. Take a look at this. I'm going to drag and drop. I got to drag and drop the music where I want it to go. Isn't that cool? Now, if you look very closely on the webcam, this little tiny icon, when I click on it, look at all the options it opens up. Okay? So I can open up trim right from here. I can adjust the volume, open up the correction tracks, the fade menu, the envelope, okay? Right from the system. Okay? This is newer as well, and it's phenomenal. I have the full ability when I'm modifying an audio envelope. That would be really interesting sound, Mr. Davis, huh? Oopsie, that's what I get for clicking the wrong button. Well, I removed it, okay? So let's put it back on and do something different. I won't. Now, see, you can move it freely. Now, if you look in the upper right corner of my menu, it's showing me what the video scene is at that point in time. So I can drag and drop this right where I want it to begin, right there, okay? And I can even affect the envelope right here without opening up the envelope. So this behaves a lot more like some of the other traditional higher-end professional video editing software applications in that I can affect the volume level and the envelope right directly on the timeline without having to go into a submenu, which I really like. Another very valuable time saver. The last couple of operating systems, if you didn't see this as well, this button is worth its weight in gold down here, the overmodulation detector. By clicking on that, it will look and tell you where there are overmodulations, okay? And it takes me right to the spot where I have overmodulated audio. There it is right there, okay? The benefit there is if you have overmodulated audio, you very likely will have an unsuccessful DVD burn, okay? All the website members, the clients who come to me, I work with either directly or a consultant basis, they say, what's wrong with my project? They say, show me the storyboard, show me the audio mix menu before you do anything else. I'll bet you there's a red line in there. Sure enough, 9 times out of 10, an overmodulated audio mix window yields an unsuccessful DVD burn. Okay? So really cool things as well. Finish and Arabesque. Under Finish, this is where we export to tape. Under Arabesque is where we export to DVD. But let's say I wanted to export this finished storyboard out to the internet. I want to load it up to my YouTube channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to Image Processing, That's just the one I use. You, of course, could use image processing or title effects or transition effects, any of the 3 effect menus. And let's call this Fine. And I'm going to select the whole, there's a whole project. And there's the audio. Down here in the scene bin, we have Fine. This button is really cool right here. Here we go. Follow me with your eyes. There's option. I left click on option. I'm going to export this scene. Okay? I'm going to export it to my Kingston Data Traveler. That was pretty quick. I'm not sure that took. Just for the sake of argument, let's go ahead and I'm going to export this scene as well just to show you. Option, export actual scene, Kingston Data Traveler. Okay. It's a close-up of some leaves I took last week. We're in the, in California at least, we're at the tail end of the autumn season, the fall. And I just want to show you what this looks like in a computer, so you can see the other, the other side of the process here. And while we're wrapping up this part, if you have questions that have popped into your mind during today's presentation, I would invite you to go ahead and drop them into the question bar now. Now, those of you in Australia and New Zealand, if you have questions of Greg Marsh with Greco Systems Australia, he's on the line and can answer questions as well. So the second week of summer there, Peter says, wow. I know, see, that's why I'm hoping to visit next December. Although I shouldn't complain. My wife is from Buffalo, New York, and if you've ever heard of Buffalo, you know why she's from there and not going to there. They have a huge volume of snow and cold temperatures in the wintertime, so we're very, very mild here in California. One of our colleagues online from the Dominican Republic, great to see you online, Franklin, and I agree 100%. If you're doing HD work, if you're doing quick work, you want to get a fun family video out, I find this is fine. But for doing your best quality work, you want to take it out to the media manager, and I will show you that as well really quickly. Okay, I come over here to Archives. I'm going to export a scene. So let me find that scene, the one I called Fine. There's my Fine scene, 36 seconds and 22 frames. I left click OK, and it's going to export that over to the media manager, and from there I can drop it onto my USB stick and upload that. I have more control over the compression settings, and I 100% agree with Franklin, my findings as well when I did tests. The degree of compression under the option button is significantly greater, which means heavily compressed, which means the end result of your finished quality is not going to be probably what you're going to want to have. So I canceled that, so I can, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I've got that USB stick in my hands, and let me come over here. Let me hide my background. Hide that, and let me insert my USB stick here. Thank you, Jurian. Great to see you as well. A name that I'm familiar with. Jurian, I know, has been a website member, and I think has purchased tutorial DVDs as well. A name that is familiar to me. Great to have you along. So here's my my flash drive, very cleverly called No Name. And if I go ahead and look at the, I have modified the date. Here we have the scene that we created just moments ago. And it's likely not going to play within the QuickTime, but if I upload that to my YouTube channel, you'd see it would go up there and play swimmingly. Yeah. The AVI. Now, by the way, if you're working a lot with different files in your computer, I get this question a lot from people. Is Chet, I exported from the media manager. I exported from my Casablanca, and let's go show you the whole process. Let's go ahead and upload this for fun. By the way, if you're on Facebook, I would appreciate you befriending me. The other thing you can do is, if you haven't already, if you're on Facebook, go to the Casablanca Experts page. I do have a page on Facebook you can like, and you can get my regular updates and, goings on. In fact, there's our evening webinar I mentioned there. I'm going to load this to one of my video hosting websites. I use a company called Sprout Video. And log in. And let's upload some video. Select the file. Select the drive. And that's uploading. So in a few moments, we'll see the finished version. And it's going really slow. It has nothing to do with Casablanca. It has to do with the amount of resources my computer is using for the webinar software. Okay. So any other questions while that's loading? We'll go here. I'll go ahead and pull up my screen. Again, if you're not a member at CasablancaExpert.com, I would invite you just to drop by and check it out. You'll find it at CasablancaExpert.com. Very confusing, isn't it? And at the very least, please do this. In the upper left corner, you see it says email address and your name. Enter your email address and your name and click submit. In exchange for spending this time with you today, I would ask you to do that at the very least. What do you get in exchange? You'll receive a free community newsletter approximately once a month. It gives news about what's going on in Casablanca software, hardware, etc. Information as well about my workshops, about my website tutorials that are out there, yada, yada, yada. I do not sell any of this information to anybody else. You will only get stuff from me because I hate spam more than you. I get a lot more than you do, I'll bet. And, and here's the other thing, is if you consider becoming a member of the website, it's $12.99 US per month or $62.35 US for 6 months. If you join the monthly rate and decide after a month, Chet, it wasn't what I thought, I will refund every single penny that you spent. Okay? I only want happy customers. I only want to work with people and provide services for people whom I can meet their needs and desires. So, all right. Let's close this baby out and come back and look at that video file. I already shared with you the resources on my website. One of the resources is we have webinars just like this every month. And our next webinar is this Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, U.S. Pacific. And that is using HDSLR cameras in a multi-camera event. Silver Node of Reno Video Productions in Ottawa, Canada is joining us. He uses the Casablanca S4100, has 2 of them, and he has high-end Canon DSLRs, HDSLR cameras in his production. So these are included with your webinar membership. And do me a favor, type in the, we have a number of people from U.S. and territories, North America as well, online this evening. Give me a sense if this evening time works better for you than morning times. If it does, I've been considering whether I should also do evening-based webinars. Probably not a Friday night is good for a lot of folks, and I know Saturday can be a challenge, especially if you're a wedding and event videographer. But anyway, just shoot me an email with that. And open for other questions. Let's go ahead and go back to the website and take a look and see if that video is now loaded. Okay, the video is loaded. Let's see if it's going to still going to be processing probably. Yeah, it's still encoding. 32% complete. Well, what's going to happen at the conclusion of this is once we all say goodbye, in a couple days you'll get an email, an automatic email for joining the webinar, and what will be in there will be the link from this evening if you want to review the video, okay? And also my email address will be in there in case you have other follow-up questions. Let's see, one of our colleagues is asking what model Casablanca are you using? Tonight you've seen the S3000. I also do have an S4000 Pro. Both are running the Bogart 4.1G. I get asked by people, Chet, I'm considering going to the the new Bogart series. Should I go 3,000 or 6,000? I might disagree with. There was a conversation I saw on one of the forums. I think it was a Cassie Tips list. Several people said, "Oh, definitely go for the 6,000." I don't. I would say it depends. I believe it depends. If you're doing lots of long form video with heavy HD, you would then appreciate the processing power that the S6000 will give you. However, having said that, the S3000 is much faster even than my S4000. And if you're currently editing on a Smart Edit machine, the S3000 is a screamer. You know, it's significantly faster, the 3000 than anything else you're used to working with. So, you know, in terms of comparison. Now, again, having said that, you have twice the hard drive capacity between the 3000 and the 6000, and the processing power in the 6000 is more than you have in the 3000. But other than that, they're identical in terms of the parts, the hardware. I think there's more RAM in the 6000 as well. Yeah. Oh, okay, Greg. Okay, good. I'm glad to know that. I was surprised by some of the comments that I heard from other people the other day. So Greg said, you know, typically, and I expect it goes on a case-by-case basis. You know, if someone's shooting, you know, an hour TV program every month, a cable show every week or something like that, and they've got heavy production demands, and they've got a very heavy time requirement, you know, we have to get this cranked out in a short period of time, then you're kind of self-selecting towards the 6000. But I think as well, I don't think most people could go wrong with the S3000, to be honest with you. Now, here's my other snapshot. In a perfect world, because I'm a straight shooter, in a perfect world, if I have a Smart Edit-based Casablanca and you have the opportunity to keep it, not trade it in, I would recommend keeping it, because I believe the Smart Edit series still does a better job at editing SD material in my mind. There are still some minor quirks, not major ones, some minor quirks, and there are times when I prefer to edit on my Renome Plus rather than my other two units. But that's personal preference as much as anything. If you have the ability or the opportunity, what I'm saying is, it's in an ideal world, keep your Smart Edit machine and also edit under your 3000 or your 6000. Let's see, one of our colleagues is asking, I use an S4000 Pro, which works well. Is there any great advantage in upgrading to an S6000? Honestly, I would say no. You know, because you chose the words great advantage. There is an advantage, you know. There is a speed advantage. I think it's also twice the hard drive capacity. Let's see. I'm trying to remember if the S4000 Pro, I think, is a single terabyte, and I believe the S6000 is currently at a 2 terabyte internal hard drive. So to me, it's marginal. It is a much newer machine. If your S4000 Pro has been working well, I don't think there is a great advantage for you to move up to an S6000. I would recommend, if you have not already done so, upgrading to the 4.1G. 4.1G offers a significant advantage over the previous Bogart versions. Okay? I hope that answers your question, sir. Let's see. So we can load any format from any camera, but we should load it into a project in the highest format in the Casablanca. Let me carefully answer that. Okay. I'm going to rewind too. Well, here's the video. So okay. Blah blah blah. That's the little leaf video that I showed you a moment ago. So that, you know, we extracted that scene, uploaded it, and now it's, you know, it's playing back. Well, just to show you, I could send you this link, and you can play it back on the internet right where you are. So that's how easy it is to extract the file and upload. Now there's 2 more steps if you're doing it from the Media Manager, as Franklin pointed out, which yields a much higher image quality. But, I mean, that gives you a sense of how quick and easy it is, okay? So let me come back here. Our colleague, again, who asked for the S4000 Pro to the S6000. The S6000 and the S6000, the 3000 to 6000, one of the other differences between the 4000 Pro 2000 4100 is that there is no analog output. Okay, so when I go back to these clips here, somewhere here, there it is. Okay, these are analog import. There's analog inputs. There is no analog output. So you cannot take S-video out of your S3000 or S6000 if you have that need. Fewer and fewer people are going to need that. Okay, that's just a fact of where consumer electronics is and where it's going. But if you need that, you cannot extract it here. Now, here, you can get an analog to digital converter. I know Canopus has one. I think it's like 180 US, something like that. And it will convert digital to analog or analog to digital. So you can come out via FireWire. So there are ways to do it, but it's not on board. Where in your S4000, you already have the ability to export out analog video if you needed that. So that's another reason to possibly, consider that. So let me come back here to Peter has a follow-up question. We can load any format from any camera. Let me qualify that. Here's the great qualifier. I want to be careful of not selling snake oil. The little wagon rolls into town, the guy puts up his signs, and you can load any video format from any camera. Not entirely true. Now, under Bogart 4.1G, much more and much better than we ever had before. Under Bogart 2, compared to Bogart 4.1G, there's many more formats, okay? But there are still some that are quirky that are not. For example, I know, and this is just as a case in point, it's not something that is going to keep most people up at night. But, for example, my Logitech webcam, the webcam I'm using, I loaded that in my computer the other day. Just out of curiosity, I took that file. I put it on a thumb drive, tried to load that, shut down my Casablanca. Every time I click on that file, the screen goes black. It's like, no, I don't want to even look at that file, so I forget it, okay? So I would dare say 85 to 90% of the formats that are out there. Now, having said that as well, there are some cameras, usually higher-end cameras, that can record in a variety of different bit streams and different resolutions that are not compatible with the Casablanca. Based on the knowledge I have at present, you cannot successfully always count on your system, Casablanca system, recording and editing 60p footage. Okay, it'll do 60i footage, but not 60p footage. It'll do 30p, but it won't do 60p. Okay, and there are some of the higher bit streams that it will not be compatible with. So there are some settings on some cameras. I know one of my website members right now we're wrestling with. He's got a high-end Sony Nextcam, and some of the video he recorded with PCM digital audio. It breaks it up into less than 2 gigabyte streams with missing frames, and that's not a Casablanca issue, that's a Sony issue. Some editors have already built to compatibility. Casablanca, we're still working on that. So, So Peter's asking again. So I hope that makes sense, Peter. So, most every contemporary camera, I would recommend shooting it at 1920 by 1080 I, okay, or the 720p. And interlace if you want to do the slow-mo. If you want to do the Twixtor slow-mo, yes. If you want to do Twixtor slow-mo, yes. Franklin, are you shooting? Are you shooting solely with HDSLRs now, Franklin? Or I know that you do have some, but are you also shooting with other traditional high-end video cameras? And while Franklin's typing, Peter, I should say there are a number of people here in North America that have successfully used XDCam. In fact, shoot me an email, Peter, chet@chetdavis.com, and let me give you all my email address right now. So, and I'm happy to answer some simple questions by virtue of today's webinar because you participated with me. If, however, on an ongoing basis, it's my information is my commodity. It's what I sell. Some people sell video packages. I sell information and expertise. So on an ongoing basis, unless people are a member on my website, I can't answer lots of questions. But I'm happy to have some follow-up here. Now, having said that, the reason why I offered that, Peter, I've kept file of those people that have the Sony XD-Cam, and I'm happy to forward you the information that they've included, like, you know, the settings that work for them and all that stuff. Okay? Okay, here we go. Franklin, let's see, says with 4.1C Bogart, I mixed 1040i HDV with DSLR at 30p, and there was no problem to download the DSLR. Okay, that worked for you. Perfect. Let's see, Franklin asked another question here. Why making a DVD on Bogart takes forever to encode on DV and a long time in HD? Yeah, now, if you're making a DVD, an SD DVD, Franklin, you're making it from HD footage, right? So it's an HD project setting that you're making an SD DVD. So the system's having to down convert. And then a long old time making Blu-ray. Now, our colleagues online who are in Australia and New Zealand today, I think already have Arabesque 5 available. We don't have that in the States yet. We don't have that over here in North America. It's not available on NTSC. For those of you online who are from North America, I understand that Macro System US Tech Support did get a new beta version this week of Arabesque 5, so we're hoping that that will move a little bit closer to release. I know some of us, our friend online tonight whose initials are FB, I know Franklin is very eager to have that. I know for his business it's very important. And I should say, just give a plug, if you've ever wanted to see beautiful wedding videography, Franklin has some of the most beautiful work on the planet. Not only is his work excellent and creative, but he only works with beautiful people in beautiful locations. He's on the islands of the Dominican Republic with this beautiful water and beautiful brides and handsome grooms, and his video is just so elegant and beautifully done. He didn't pay me to say that. That's just the honest truth. I'm sorry I have to say it. Well, friends and colleagues, it's been a delight to come together. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be here. I hope this was interesting and valuable to you. Again, if it was, if you weren't aware of my services before, check out my website. See if it's something you'd like to participate in. I continue to believe, with more than 600 articles, tips, tutorials, streaming video, you know, it is the biggest collection of Casablanca-related information and resources anywhere on planet Earth. And I'm just one nice guy and terribly modest as well. So I'd love to have a continuing relationship with you. And I'm serious. I might as well put the plug in there. Those of you in Australia and New Zealand, put it on your calendar. I'd love to get together for maybe a hands-on workshop, you know, a year from now. So. All right, great. Thank you all. Several people have said that nighttime is a better time for a good time for a webinar. So I think you know, we may continue. Evening webinars. So let's see, a couple last questions here. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Is there any real difference in 1080i versus 1080p as far as editing on the Casablanca? It's more of an artistic question, to be honest with you. Do you like the progressive, or do you prefer the progressive look? I believe you're going to have greater success in 1080i editing on your Casablanca, so I would stay 1080i in your Casablanca, honestly. I think you will have the greatest success in your editing. Now, if your final project is destined for internet distribution, what you definitely want to do, or if it's going to be played back on computer monitors, computer screens, you definitely want to de-interlace that video, okay? And to de-interlace the video, there's one very easy thing to do. It's part of the software called Effects Pack 8, okay? Effects Pack 8 has software, and it's called Movie Mode, okay? Here's Franklin. Franklin says Blu-ray is mandatory to convert to progressive. No way interlace for Blu-ray. No, but Franklin, Have you edited and interlaced and then tried movie mode? I wonder if you've tried that. I wonder if that would work. I'm trying to remember if that's what still does. I'm switching over my monitor here. Just be a moment. Okay, Franklin says that's what I mean. I use movie mode. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Franklin. Well, I feel much better recommending that now, knowing that that's what you do as well. Okay, so I've switched over to my Renovate Plus here just because I have that Effects Pack 8 on here. Here's what movie mode is. So Jurian, here's what you would do. Oopsie, let me go to a project that actually has something going on. So, you know, you have your finished video up inside the storyboard. Make a scene of it and place it down here in the scene bin. So, you know, you make a scene of it by going into the 3 effects menus. And down here in the scene bin, under Special, assuming you have Effects Pack 8 loaded, which is an add-on software, come down here and you'll see Movie Mode. Let me confirm it's Effects Pack 8 before I... Oh, no. You know what? I'm wrong. It's not Effects Pack 8. It's part of the operating system. You already have it. Never mind. Okay. So, run movie mode. Click OK. And now it's going to process the video and de-interlace it. Why that's important is long and short of it is that every video hosting website prefers de-interlaced video, or another way of saying is it's progressive. It can be de-interlaced, but it can also be there's another word, decomb. There's a comb filter. Some of the sophisticated software has. We don't have it at the Casablanca, but some applications have that. Now, Franklin says he does it before encoding. Yes, so before you go to the DVD authoring process, you would de-interlace it. And why as well? Because on computer screens are not interlaced. It's only our traditional television monitors that are interlaced. Computer screens are progressive as well. So VGA monitors, plasma monitors are almost all progressive and not interlaced scanning. Okay, I'll cancel that because that's way too long. Okay? Good. Thanks for the questions and thanks for the follow-up. And thank you, Franklin, for sharing your expert opinion as well. And again, thanks to Draco Systems Australia, to Greg Marsh and his team for inviting me. I look forward, maybe we can do this once or twice a year with our friends down in Australia and New Zealand. So thank you very much. Have a good rest of the day there in Australia, and we're heading towards evening and nighttime. I know for Franklin, it must be late at night there. So thanks for joining us all.
The